Did you know that the BCCI does not have a players association? So if a player wants to voice any complaints, they can go fuck themselves. And that is just the tip of the iceberg. When I was 17, I rather embarrassingly found out that cricket was not our national sport. I mean, how could it not be? Everybody only cared about cricket. After the 2003 World Cup, I was hooked hard for the next few years. I even went and saw entire test matches live. Fast forward a few years, we won the World Cup in 2011 and sure, I went to India Gate and got caught in a traffic jam. But I wasn't really, elated. And now there is so much cricket, you would think a lot more people would be happy and into it. But the more people I meet, the less fucks that are given. If you're like me and you've lost touch with the game, your reason might be an overdose of cricket or that there are not that many more legends in the team. But for me personally, it was a certain NGO called the BCCI. Ever heard the story about the goose that laid golden eggs? Well, there was this farmer called BCCI and his pet cricket used to lay golden match balls. Now these balls took a long time to hatch, 5 days sometimes. He noticed that another farmer had figured out a way to make these balls hatch in half a day. Now he really wanted these new match balls and through strong arm tactics and shit flinging, he got him. He got rid of the other farmer and flooded the market with these new match balls to the point where people didn't really want them so much anymore. You can't talk about the IPL without first talking about the ICL. The ICL, in case you've forgotten, was India's first domestic T20 tournament.
When you pioneer a product, you come out with an innovative product. Of course, when you're thinking outside the box, you are going to upset the old establishment.
Zee Entertainment Enterprises had all it needed to start this. It had plenty of channels to broadcast the tournament. They got players from all over the world. And many stadiums would welcome this exciting domestic league. Even Kapil Dev, the chairman of the National Cricket Academy, lent out his support like any true cricketer would.
वजह है इस आग को एक नाम दो ICL सपने मंजिल तक.
After all, it was going to offer employment to so many cricketers as well as cricket-related staff. It was so inclusive that they even had their own teams for the rest of the world, Bangladesh and even Pakistan. All of this really pissed off the BCCI. Firstly, they refused to recognize the tournament and banned all the players who were taking part in it from the international team. This included Rohan Gavaskar. You know shit has hit the fan when the son of the great Sunil Gavaskar can't go, "Tu janta nahi mera baap kaun hai." What was even more disturbing is that all the other international cricketing boards banned their respective players from playing cricket. The ICC washed their hands off the matter completely as they gave a statement through their chief executive Malcolm Speed that the ICC would not recognize the ICL unless the BCCI chooses to recognize it. That's a lot of influence for an NGO. Kapil Dev lost his post in the National Cricket Academy. Stadiums were told that if they host the ICL, they can forget about ever having international matches there. When it looked like the end of the line for the ICL, the BCCI told the players that they were offered amnesty if they left the rebel cricket league. And after the BCCI saw the success such a tournament had, they started the IPL. The same IPL where Pakistani players are banned for the Mumbai terror attacks, but Ramiz Raja is allowed to commentate and Wasim Akram is allowed to be a coach. The same IPL where players were arrested for spot fixing, their laptops confiscated and the case disappears, only later to be acquitted in 2015. Azhar must be like, damn, that was lenient. Well, some of you are going, हाँ, हमें पता है सब IPL के बारे में, but what about the BCCI versus the rest of the world? Let's begin with how we are opposed to the decision review system. The system was first introduced in Test cricket for the sole purpose of reviewing controversial decisions made by the on-field umpires as to whether or not a batsman had been dismissed. Which seems fair, but the BCCI said no, saying that the technology was too expensive. But when you're the richest cricketing NGO by a country mile, that seems like a ridiculous reason, to the point where it's downright suspicious. But then again, we have always been opposed to technology, haven't we? The BCCI tries to monopolize the sport in every way possible. Getty Images, one of the largest photography agencies in sport, is not allowed to take pictures of cricket in India. The ICC, under duress, most likely revamped the way test series are even set up. If you're a richer nation, you will play more tests, which means more ad revenue. Whereas if you're a nation like the West Indies, who are no longer the big ticket, you only get 2 test matches in a series. Basically, in cricket, the rich are literally getting richer and the poor will have no reason to care about the sport anymore. And finally, I leave you with the Andrew Simons versus Harbhajan Singh case, where we Indians put it down to stuff like, oh, those Aussies, they can't handle a taste of their own medicine. Look at what happens when we sledge them back. But the charge was racism, and it has no place in sport. Would you not be super insulted if there was even a suspicion that someone told Sachin to shit on railway tracks? After Ponting reported Harbhajan, he was initially banned for 3 full matches, after which the BCCI threatened to walk out in the middle of the series, which would cost the Australian Cricket Board a lot of money. So they reversed the charge to unsporting play, and Harbhajan was given a fine. This is a side of the story we Indians never got to see, and this is what Justin Langer had to say about it.
And he said, Justin, don't be naive. You've got to understand the politics.
Yeah, you gotta understand the politics. Well, this is not politics. This is mera bat hai, mera ball hai, main nahi khelta. In other words, it's a rich little shit's tantrum. The T20 World Cup just went by, and you know what I did? I watched my plants grow, because at least that was honest entertainment. Even the Supreme Court stepped in and tried to fix it. Justice R.M. Lodha said that the nation's highest court has been compelled to step in because the game has fallen into disrepute and certain steps had to be taken to restore it to its former glory. To which the BCCI said, nah man, this is an offer we can totally refuse. Look, we know that most sports are deeply corrupted and it's just a way of life now. But when it comes to cricket, all the corruption seems to be reserved with one entity, and it's in our own backyard. Which is why I've turned my attention to football, because it only has 2 advertisement breaks and corruption is only to be suffered for 90 minutes at a time.
मैं क्रिकेट खेलता था, अंडर 19 सिलेक्शन में था, so knowledge of cricket was there. एक अंकल के थ्रू एक जन दुखी को पहचान हुआ, तो वो पैसा आने लगा, तो पैसा आया तो बहुत अच्छा लगा.